once again provoked the usual commentary about how it shows the country is basically dysfunctional. But the truth is, this unprovoked madness, causing self-inflicted wounds, took place against a backdrop of astonishing strength. The facts cannot be disputed. The United States has recovered from the pandemic faster than any major economy in the world. As Bloomberg's Matthew Winkler recently points out, unemployment is stunningly low. GDP growth has grown at 3 times the average pace as under Donald Trump. Real incomes are rising, manufacturing is booming, and inflation has now eased for 10 straight months. Even the budget deficit, which was at 15.6% of GDP at the end of the Trump presidency, dropped to 5.5% of GDP at the end of last year. The picture is even better when viewed more broadly. The US remains the world's leader in business, especially in cutting-edge technology. Scholars Sean Stars and Stephen Brooks found that looking at the globe's top 2,000 companies, Chinese firms came in first in shares of global profits in only 11% of sectors. American firms are ranked first in 74% of sectors. Or look at artificial intelligence, which most agree is the boldest new frontier of technology likely to shape every industry. American companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google produce the best applications on the market, and a host of other new startups are surging forward. As Paul Shar points out in a Foreign Affairs essay, of the top 15 institutions publishing deep learning research, 13 are American universities or corporate labs. Only one, Tsinghua University, is Chinese. He notes that while China publishes more AI research than the US, American papers are cited 70% more often. These American advantages are likely to grow dramatically now that China has been blocked from the advanced chips that are absolutely essential to developing and using AI. Or consider finance. Despite the recent banking crisis, the biggest US banks are now more dominant than they have ever been worldwide. They have passed rigorous stress tests and built up their capital reserves, and as a result, they are now better positioned than their European and Japanese counterparts. China's state-owned banks are saddled with huge government debt and cannot operate in the open global financial system because that would almost certainly trigger massive outflows of funds as business people seek to move their money to safer havens. And despite many challenges and efforts to unseat it, the dollar remains the global reserve currency, as the IMF managing director recently said, which gives America a financial superpower. It is one I worry we are misusing, which will trigger even more efforts to replace it, but there is no denying that the dollar for now reigns supreme. A somewhat under-noticed development in recent years has been America's rise as an energy powerhouse. Because of fracking and natural gas, the US is now the world's largest producer of liquid hydrocarbons. And as Columbia University's Jason Bordhoff has noted, America's ability to ship liquefied natural gas has made it an energy superpower, able to provide or cut off energy to countries around the world. Add to these traditional energy sources the dramatic ramp up of green energy, thanks to the vast tax credits and incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act, and you have a picture of truly astonishing energy capacity. America's military remains in a league of its own, far superior to that of its rivals in Russia or China. China is catching up to the US, but America's lead remains vast, even across many dimensions of warfare. And in Ukraine, as the Republican Foreign Policy Advisor Kori Schake has noted, the US at minimal cost and with no US troops is inflicting tremendous damage on Russia's army. Washington is also transforming the Ukrainian army into one of the most powerful armed forces in Europe. The great force multiplier of American power remains its alliances. The US has more than 50 treaty allies. China has one, North Korea. The US has about 750 military bases of some kind around the world. China has one, in Djibouti. I could go on. Unlike most rich countries, America has a strong working age cohort that will not shrink thanks to immigration. We still take in 1 million legal immigrants a year on average. China and Russia are both facing demographic declines that are almost impossible to reverse and will put a long-term damper on their growth. Could it be that it is precisely because of this backdrop of strength that Washington's politicians and the Republican Party in particular can indulge in this crazy political theater? For most countries, the price of playing games with one's creditworthiness will be sharp and severe, and that would act as a disciplining mechanism. But in Washington, this country's basic strength has become a license for irresponsibility. Go to CNN.